if there's anything that is central to ethics, to morality, then it's that, the ability to work together for a common good.
The first question that I have for you guys is, across disciplines, ethics means different things to different scholars. What is ethics to you both?
These are big questions, and big questions for philosophers who study ethics. Different things. I mean, I think it means different things to different philosophers that you ask. I could make a reference to our textbook, Asking Good Questions. I could probably look up and see how we define it, but I won't do that. But I know we talk about different ways of defining ethics, different ways of understanding ethics, and one of them is focused on finding the best reasons for one's choices and actions. Another one related to that has to do with living the good life and relationships with other people, other beings, seeking out those conditions in which one can live one's best life, which kind of broadens it from the focus on rationality to include, emotional sensitivity and empathy and respect and a lot of other things.
Do you have anything you would like to add, Dr. Stanlick?
Yeah, I suppose one thing to do would be to talk about different ways of conceiving of ethics as an academic discipline. So, for example, we have theoretical and applied. From what Mike said just a minute ago about living a good life, making the best possible decisions, but ethics is also about an inquiry into the nature of the right and the good, and those are different from each other. When Mike just said a couple of minutes ago that it's conceived, or something like it's conceived differently by different people, you're going to get very different answers from people in philosophy you would get in most cases from people in other areas who are almost exclusively dealing with applied issues in a particular academic or professional discipline, such as business ethics, for example.
We always start, I think, by saying that ethics is a branch of philosophy. It's one of the 5 main branches of philosophy, right? You have aesthetics pursuing beauty, and logic and epistemology pursuing truth, metaphysics pursuing truth as well, and ethics pursuing the good, right? The pursuit of the good. And then it branches off into all these other areas. And perhaps unique for our book too, for thinking about our book, Asking Good Questions, Case Studies in Ethics and Critical Thinking, is, several of the theories that Dr. Stanlick mentioned. I mean, we talk about them as tools, right, for pursuing the good, right, for pursuing the good life, for the ultimate goal of acting in a way that will, lead to the best life one can live.
And often using more than one theory to investigate a problem and to make a decision. It's not like you have to be this absolute, it's not like you have to have absolute devotion to virtue ethics. For our purposes in the application of theory and principles to the attempt to solve real emergent as well as persistent problems, and even sometimes more pedestrian problems. Almost every day you have something that many times, many things, you have to decide what to do, because there's real human beings, real animals, real environment, whatever type of ethics, whatever application you're looking at. It's more than just a matter of some kind of analytic and dispassionate look at things. There's real human beings, real feelings, real consequences that are attended with the decisions that you make. To forget the person, to forget the emotion, to forget or to ignore the way that your decisions affect others is at your peril and theirs. And so ethics is not just about making the right decisions and seeking the good, but also considering not just oneself, but others and the environment and animals and institutions, and how what the individual does as part of a community affects the larger whole.
Could you both tell me how you got involved in ethics in your specific area, as well as what pushed you both to write this book together?
Got started with this book, and this also speaks, I think, to our involvement with ethics. And Nancy's been here longer than I have. Nancy and I think, started to become friends, and we got involved in the Ethics Bowl. So, and involvement in the Ethics Bowl 20 odd years ago led to, well, initially creating student teams to compete in the competitions, and then it led to our development of an honors interdisciplinary seminar on case studies in ethics, right? And then which we co-taught for several years, and that led us to write the book, because a lot of the material that we used in teaching the course found its way into the book. So that's been going on for over 2 decades, right? And then we also both have our own other areas of research which overlap with ethics. I've my own work has focused less on some of the so-called central ethical thinkers, such as Aristotle, virtue theory, and Kant's deontology and utilitarianism, and so on, and more on Kierkegaard and existential thinking and the philosophy of love, and Spinoza's ethics, and understanding of the emotions in relation to ethics, and so on. So there's a start of an answer.
I'm interested primarily in the ethics of interpersonal relationships and the ethics of interpersonal and social relationships, because one of my other interests is in modern philosophy generally, but also modern political philosophy, where modern means 1700s and sort of into the 1800s. And so the philosophy of friendship, the causes of discord between people, and how human relationships play themselves out in a variety of circumstances. Now, those things manifest themselves in different ways in other works. So in our book, for example, mine and Mike's book, we take a practical approach with a theoretical background, but we do this in a pluralistic and a sort of eclectic sort of way. And I think we think often about ethics in the same way, not just in terms of theory and application, but also in the way that you live your life. Almost everything we do, in other words, has an ethical angle to it, because it has an effect on yourself as well as others.
Just to tag on to that, I mean, that's, I think, a continuing project of ours, and I think should probably be a project of everyone working here at UCF, is to promote real dialogue and among multiple persons that leads to civil discussion and consensus building. And that's an emphasis of our book as well, and what we try to do with our the students on the Ethics Bowl team to help facilitate them to come to a consensus together and to work together. And certainly that work is very important, perhaps most important today in the climate we live in.
Yes. And the ability that seeking and building consensus, you don't have as an individual to agree with somebody else's position, but if you have paid enough attention to be able to explain that person's position from within yourself, it gives you a kind of empathy with someone else that you don't agree with. And that way you can respect the differences and yet work together for a common goal. And that, if there's anything that is central to ethics, to morality, then it's that, the ability to work together for a common good.
I appreciate you both coming on here and doing the interview with me.